What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Roo.
Welcome to Couch and the Roo, presented as always by Pure Options Craft Cannabis, here to help you get through the day, the weekend, your life, your marriage, whatever is ailing you, whatever vibe you're looking for. Pure Options has it. Go to pureoptions.com. You can download the app. Join their Pure Perks loyalty program, which is an awesome way to have your Pure Options experience tailored just to you. They have some incredible January deals that are just ending. Still time to get them today, the last day of January. We'll get into their February deals as February hits. Again, Pure Options, great partner with us, and by supporting them, you are supporting us. And our Friday afternoon show, presented by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app. Enjoy the Super Bowl props. Tons of them already are up. Bet the MSU basketball games over the next few days, whatever it might be. It's a great way to do it at the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Some cool sign-up bonuses as well. Jason, how you doing, brother?
Graham.
I mean, I felt all of Fred Human.
What's up, buddy? Now, why do you keep bringing up this bad marriage thing in the live reads? It sounds a little personal.
I don't know.
All right?
Yeah, it's not really. It's not. It's just like a quick
It's not?
go-to.
Or
No,
it is? It's okay.
It's not. It's
It's
trust
not
me,
okay?
No, my marriage is great.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was confused.
Yeah, no. Let's
So the marriage
that's
is
there.
okay.
Yeah, that's
But
not
you're
gonna
just
become a
bringing
thing.
it up because you're just randomly bringing up, if you're in a bad marriage, am I right?
Sometimes I have time to be more creative with the live reads. Other times I go to the go-tos. And this was like,
It's understandable.
It was
It's a hard thing to do,
Yeah, and this was a go-to.
I mean, 1,000 shows. You've come a long way. I can't imagine what the first couple live reads were like. I mean, I know that we're trying to go back maybe and look at clips from like the first couple shows. I just don't know if I can do it. Like, I just want to vomit every time I hear my voice. So this is where I wish we had someone, like I'd pay someone to just maybe go back and listen to some shows or something.
So the
Is there
worst
any funny stuff.
The worst show we ever did, I think, and this is show 999. Well, technically it's
999.
It's labeled 999. It's like 986, but
990.
yeah. But 1,000 will be Monday, or we think, or Wednesday. It'll be early next week.
Just say it.
Our next show.
Say it's 1,000.
Our next, yeah,
Confidently,
confidently, I will say that.
it's 1,000th show next Monday.
Do you remember that episode where it was early on, really early on? We were doing 5 days a week, 2 hours a day, lots of topics.
I was drinking, so probably not.
And there was a studio conflict. So they set up the downstairs studio for us. This is before we had video or anything like that. And we without any of the music or drops, and we recorded it and then posted it. And I think Jeff and Suzanne and Alex were all down there with us at the time.
No, it was just Jeff.
Well, was it?
Just
Okay.
Jeff, yeah. And we had the 2 microphones, and we were in the boardroom, whatever it is, downstairs. Yeah, we were just kind of
going through.
And I was reading the questions off my phone, I think, or something. And yeah.
That was a rough episode.
Yeah. I haven't gone back to listen to it, but man.
We had some worse ones, but that was actually we did have some worse ones. The worst when we were doing 5 days a week and we felt like we had to do it even when I was on the road, and I'd call in from like an airport somewhere for like 25 minutes. All right.
Well, because we were still functioning like a radio station, so you kind of had to have something in there.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Not to mention the Alex Sims episode that I take shit for when you were gone. I felt like I had to do a show. Like, why don't you host, man? Like in the mirror, I'm staring at myself. Come on, man, you can host this shit. I know you can't.
Wait. Were you really staring at yourself in the mirror?
No,
I'm
kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay.
But you have to have that confidence to be someone that thinks that they can host a show. I've never been someone. I've hosted shows, but I've always had either a co-host or someone else. Right? I've never. You self-realize, you understand, you have a self-awareness. You go, what can I do to provide some sort of entertainment? You don't have to be the guy every time. And that's where I think a lot of guys get in their own way of, right?
To this day, I think that episode's the only episode that got us in trouble with either of our wives.
Well, she wasn't my wife yet, but yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand why at the time. I don't know. But, I was pure. In my heart, I was just trying to put on an entertaining show. I had no ulterior motives,
Okay.
people claim.
Yeah, no, I'm
Just saying, I'm being 100% honest.
right.
But,
Right. No, it's good. Well, we will do a fun 1,000 show.
I mean, come on, Alex Sims is like a social media star now.
She is.
Yeah, she got dumped, and now she has all these followers, these weird dudes.
It's quite a social media presence these days.
I'm like, does she have these, like, are they in a book or something, all these, like, sayings for Twitter that she fires out? It's amazing.
Maybe we bring her back for the 1,000th show.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Well,
we'll tell T.
We'll yeah. we will try and pull up some of our intro from our first show and some of our earliest guests or things that we'll try and find some fun stuff for Monday along with the hot takes. And we have some people actually have questions about the show's origins and some other stuff today. One of the things I always forget is people picked us up along the way. So like some people are pretty new to us.
What do you mean? You haven't been listening to all 999? Are you kidding me? There's people that have come in, dipped out.
Hated us, come back to us.
I understand. Yeah. I get a text saying, hey, man, I'm sorry. I'm just picking the show back up. I'm like, dude, I completely understand.
Jason dipped out for all of 2022. He was just here, but he wasn't really here. It was like, it was
maybe 2019.
Okay, that year.
2022, I was kind of around.
Well, we got a good Groovy Donut Twitter question.
Yeah, we're doing a show.
Doing a show today, and I think it's going to be a good one. Lots of MSU basketball. People, despite my ridiculous rant the other day, are a little fired up about Connor Stalions.
Politics. Jesus.
Not
I heard from a couple
me.
of people, fucking couch it is politics. And
man.
I'm a Trumpster all of a sudden. I was like, what the fuck?
You did come across as a Trumpster.
I come across as a Trumpster.
You did the both sides thing.
Oh, please.
You did
but that's how I feel. I'm not a Trumpster.
That's fine.
I don't have to tell people my voting record, but
100%.
I can tell you I'm not a Trumpster. I'm just someone that's straight down the middle kind of guy. I'm just, I go and vote and say my piece.
Absolutely.
Trumpster.
Is the
both sides are ass. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's
firm by that.
That's a fair opinion, and I agree on lots of.
I support my country. I support America. I want America to be great. That doesn't mean I have to support whoever's in. Anyway.
There's lots of ass.
As I say, let's not talk politics.
There's lots of ass throughout politics all over the place. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
All right, before we get into this, let's dig into anything we might be betting this weekend, presented by Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. A little bit of a weird week because first time really no football. And so are you taking a break? Are you digesting? Are you
Absolutely not. I have golf. I mean, I haven't got into the college hoops as of yet. Maybe Michigan State here and there. I don't know about on Saturday, but Pebble Beach, Graham, I got a top 20 brewing here. Lee Hodges top 20, which was plus 360. Harry Hall, he's in the 40th range right now. I need a top 20 out of him, plus 240. That pays 15 to 1. So I'm going to be watching that all weekend. I'm doing the top 20 smarter golf kind of bets now. Hit Keegan Bradley last week at the Farmers in the top 20. So it's he had to eagle 18, but still a win's a win in golf betting. Just to let people know that if you don't bet golf, you have to be patient. That's all I'm saying.
I've got a couple soccer bets.
I'll go to the bathroom.
Okay. The line is moving and toward Wolves, so get on this while you can. I have Wolves is home against Aston Villa at 12:30 Saturday. I like Wolves, and you can get them on the draw half. It's hard to describe this. People don't know, but
Cockburn.
You can get them on the draw no bet and half plus a half. If that means,
dude, that sounds so painful. You even have to figure out what you're betting.
Okay, so here's the deal: if you put $50 on Wolves on the draw no bet, you can put them on the money line too. I don't hate it. It's plus 225, and they have to win.
Wolves
over Aston
Villa. Do they have
Villa.
Another name? Or is there like a city attached to it, or
Wolverhampton?
Oh,
the Wolverhampton.
I'm sorry, my bad.
Yep. Anyway, Aston Villa just sold Duran, one of their strikers. They're playing. They don't do well after these Champions League matches. I know Wolves are bottom of the table, but anyway, point being,
dude,
I like Wolves.
Soccer's brutal. People are getting sold.
Yeah, you get sold. Yeah. You get sold in soccer.
Wow. The betting is ass. It's like a math equation.
So if you put 50 on Wolverhampton to beat Aston Villa and they tie, you would still win 25. If they
is that the Asia line? Asian line guy?
Yeah, or it's the half pick 'em, half plus a half. if they win, you'd win the whole thing. Anyway, I like that line a lot. I also like Crystal Palace, Man United, at Man United, under 2.5. I think Crystal Palace is really good defensively on the road.
They should have you go to schools and just explain soccer gambling, so kids will just be like, "Oh man, this is ass." No way I'm growing up and doing this shit.
Anyway, that is what
makes it sound terrible.
That is what we're betting this weekend. I hope you're still listening. Presented by Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Also a great weekend. Anytime just to drive down to Firekeepers on I-94 in Battle Creek. Go to Daisy's
Go with
Tap
Graham.
Room
We'll talk to you
Sportsbook.
the whole way. You'll be like, "Fuck gambling. I got to turn around."
All right, and with that,
get away from this guy.
Let us dig into our Groovy Donut Twitter questions.
Man, it's hot in here.
Are you ready?
Jesus H. Dominic up first. Jason, the hell is up with Couch? First he says dogs are so 1998. Then he says Zeke isn't special when all dogs are. Then he goes full Ocasio-Cortez and smooches on Stalions again. People getting pissed about Stalions when you downplay it, Couch. Blue curtain, my 9-pound schlong. What's up with you, man?
Yeah, I don't know. It was yeah.
Welcome to the blue
I don't really know how to respond to these. He's
the dog
asking
thing
you.
is the most offensive, though. He's asking me. I understand. I had a couple people ask me, what's up with Couch? What's going on?
I don't mean dogs are 1998. I mean dogs as mascots, like being the new cute thing is so 1998. Being the new, that's what I was trying to say.
Wow.
It's been done.
What a spin. That was a good try.
Yeah.
I respect that try. Still ass, but no.
Yeah.
You spit it out of there. I was talking about mascots. He said. Dominic, and what the fuck is this weird-ass peacock thing, Jason? Did anyone else hear the weirdness Wednesday? Rube rips Peacock's audio, and Couch acted like he used racial slurs and went to an emergency break. Is Couch a silent Peacock partner with Stalions and Matt Mancarini?
I do like Peacock.
Peacock?
And you didn't watch the game, obviously, because you were there.
Correct,
but it was a terrible experience. And I don't know what to put into that, Dominic, because, a lot of the times he doesn't give me anything and goes to break. He's thinking about 8 other things on his phone or thinking about a donut, So it didn't bother me that, I can understand. If you're not, it's hard to have a passion about it if you're sitting at, on the sidelines there and watching the game.
So I like Peacock as a streaming service for most things. I have to admit this. I've watched very little Big Ten football and basketball on Peacock. I have watched some but one of the problems with streaming services, and this does suck, is you don't wind up just flipping over to them. Right? They're not part of. You have to intentionally want to watch something. And obviously with Michigan State games, I'm usually there. So that has not been something that I've.
But you go back and rewatch games here and there, right?
Sure, and I've watched it on, and yeah, it's.
If people are talking about it, maybe pop it on. I wonder people,
it hasn't stood out to me as awful, and maybe I come from Big Ten Plus, where there's been, there are levels of this. And
let's hear you defend them.
10 plus is ass.
Well, they're at least students, and they do, work their ass off.
It's not. It has nothing to do with the students. It's about charging for that shit. And when you charge for, like Netflix, when they got their hand with the Tyson fight, they're like, when the NFL comes, you better not pull some shit like this. Yeah. And when you're Peacock and you're charging that much money and shit, you have money. So we wanted good product, solid product.
Big Ten Plus should. I'm not saying it should be free because they are providing a service, but it should be at least half the price it is. There's no question about it. Big Ten Plus is more than Peacock, and Big Ten Plus does not have the Premier League games or Chicago PD, so they need to check themselves.
And last one from Dominic Graham. If a certain prostitute says whorish things in front of me, can I look her in the eye and say, bumpity bump?
So who do you think? Is this just like him saying, like, I don't even know where to go here?
I think that's what he was hoping for, that answer right there.
Okay, yeah.
Scott, how many losses and wins? How many
losses wins the Big Ten?
How many losses wins the Big Ten? All right. It looks like Purdue and Michigan could only have 4 by the end of the season, maybe. Izzo seems to keep focusing on and basically telling the team that they're going to lose games and likely 5 of them. Does this mindset by him help or hurt the team?
Don't coach my team.
Yeah, I think 4 does it. It'll be interesting because I don't know that Purdue has. I'd have to look at Purdue's schedule up close, but I think 4 would get a share of it, given that Purdue and Michigan are already at 2, and I I don't think they're going to lose 5. I don't think Michigan State is. I think there's a chance they lose one of them this weekend, or this Saturday and then Tuesday in LA. And I think they got tough other road games, but this is a really good Michigan State team that's also going to win a game that seems very losable, that seems likely to lose. I mean, they're going to win one of those, and they don't seem to lose games to, like, USC will be another test of this, because USC actually has, I think, pretty decent talent across the board. They don't always play up to it. They don't rim protect or always rebound as well, but like just pound for pound, you look at how many players they have. They have 10 transfers. A lot of them have been really good players other places. But so this will be a test of, can they beat the tier that's below them without any drama. I think 4 does it, though. I think 16-4 is at least a share.
Jared up next. What is your Izzo most disappointing player Mount Rushmore? Mine is Russell Byrd, Corey Lucius, Tom Herzog, and Kenny Kaminsky. A lot of white guys on that disappointment list there.
Yeah, I mean, and so disappointment can be, for a lot of people, what you expected of them coming in, what they were early and then didn't pan out. It can be, to each
were
their
people
own.
Really high on Herzog, though? Was there a lot of like Tom Herzog?
Well, if you go
hype?
back, John Garavaglia.
Oh yeah,
was a guy when I was a teenager who was like a Mr. Basketball in Michigan, and never really led them to anything. Good player.
Yeah, didn't he put up decent numbers though?
There are people who will tell you that Matt Steginga was a disappointment relative to what they hoped he'd be coming in. He was a good player. Good player. At one point was in my top 50 all time.
Ooh, does he know that?
I think so. He's fallen out since. He's one of the people who's been replaced by more recent players.
That's why he doesn't talk to you anymore.
Correct. So you can look at it from anything. I don't know what my disappointing. Like Russell Byrd was obviously a favorite of mine in terms of somebody I talked to in the locker room a lot, and but didn't have the career. And some of it's what time, like Russell Byrd was recruited at a time that I wasn't covering the program or paying a whole lot of attention. So I didn't have that sense of the player he was supposed to be. I got there and he was already a player. He was already in a situation where he hadn't quite become the player people wanted him to be. I do remember the Herzog stuff not developing. So it's a good question. Kaminsky was a guy I think it's a good one here, because I really thought at 6'8", a shooter like him, I really thought he had a chance to be a difference maker.
Ken Chu, shouldn't NCAA players get profit sharing rather than revenue sharing?
This is a good point. Like, I mean, the problem with that is, do schools then spend to a point that there isn't profit? You know what I mean? That's so who do you
just
trust?
Finding a terrible way to get out of it. Yeah.
But if you're if there's a lot, and that's supposed to be what it mostly is. That's why the players are getting, athletes are getting $20.5 million when some of these athletic departments are bringing in terms of profit, or in terms of revenue. Sorry, 5-6 times that. The real thing would get interesting here if they really wanted to do this, because it would eliminate any revenue going to anybody outside of football and men's basketball, and in very, there might be a few places where baseball or hockey or women's basketball do it, but for the most part, you would have men's basketball and football, and men's basketball would really have to check itself, because men's basketball does not make that much profit when you get down to expenses and the fact that you're not giving it all to the players. I mean, the university would get some of it too. Most men's basketball players would be.
You'd start hearing that shit. Do you know how much it costs to charter these planes?
Yeah,
gas is expensive, and you have to hear all that boring shit.
Men's basketball players would quickly be wanting to take commercial flights and sit and coach to try and save some of that money, because these guys would not be getting paid what they are now, some places at least.
T-Bone's dad next. If Jeremy Fears uses his full eligibility, what are the odds he breaks Winston's all-time assist record? Winston averaged just under 6.5 per game for his career, essentially where Fears is currently this year.
Yeah, I think there's a really good chance of it if he were to stick around, just because you can see it already. Certain guys who are high assist guys, pass first guys, he does have the extra few games from, what he played, 11, 12 as a freshman as well. So he'd have a whole extra season, or a half season, I'd say, or third of a season than Winston. So if he's healthy and sticks around, I would say he'd have a really good shot to do it just based on the style of player he is and how early he's playing major minutes in a major role.
Corey Ostrom, USC appears to have a fair bit of talent that maybe supersedes their record. How does MSU win that game Saturday and keep the momentum for what will be a physical grinder on Tuesday at 10 p.m.?
Yeah, they're a little bit different games in that sense. I think where Michigan State is better is going to be on the glass, and I think one thing that USC doesn't do well is protect the paint, and so they don't. Like Michigan State is happy not to just fire up threes; they're happy to shoot 7 threes and do a lot of their work coming downhill to the toward the basket, and that's really where USC's weakness defensively has been. You know, USC has a guard who's 6'6", who put up 34 on Illinois, I think, and they have they have about 4 guys who are, they have more than that, are capable scorers, but they have, some guys a couple guys who can shoot, and they have a couple really good switchable wings. I mean, they're a challenging team athletically. There's no question about it. I just don't think they're as good collectively as they are individually in a lot of ways, and so MSU just needs to keep being itself and rebound and attack the glass or attack the rim, and I think they'll be okay.
Spartan 18770 next. Why can't Izzo build a better team? Shouldn't Tom be listening to all those Twitter math nerds who tell us that this team isn't good enough?
So obviously there's sarcasm here. There's it is a weird dialogue going on right now on social media, and I think some of it's just when you become a threat, and people want to take you down, right? And it is true that their schedule has been mostly the bottom half of the Big Ten, although some of those teams have an extra loss because they've played Michigan State too. And the teams that are around Michigan State in the standings have lost to many of those teams. The best thing is, if MSU is as good as I think they are, it'll play out this month. The real thing is going to be, I think in social media and in this day and age, we are not built for basketball. We're built by football, where when you lose 1 week, Jason, the world freaking collapses. We know this, right? Yeah. It's like you lose 1 week, everything changes 1 week to the next. People need to be fired. This quarterback sucks. This is all. And in basketball, even in the college level, you're playing 31 games, then the postseason. Everybody loses some games. And so the ability, I think this will be a test even for MSU fans not to overreact. And certainly there will be morons on social media from other fan bases who are, in your mentions. They are going to lose a game at some point. They're going to lose 2 games. They're going to lose probably 3 games. They may lose 4 games. And they're going to win the Big Ten if they lose 4 games. And that's fine, too, because they're going to play really good teams and they're going to beat a couple really good teams. It will help Michigan State dramatically if they can, say, beat Purdue at home. And then even if they were to lose to Illinois, although Illinois lost again last night, and they're down their big man, but if they could go to Illinois and just play a toe-to-toe game where there's that on the road.
So that Illinois win just gets worse and worse, right?
Well, yeah, it's not getting better and better. No, that's true. Yeah.
Spartan, if you don't pay up on the belly tattoo, at least eat a dozen donuts on air for your listeners. Sounds like a punishment for the listeners, though, if you have to hear Couch eat a donut.
Yeah, my wife has headphones just because she doesn't like how I chew. I can't imagine.
Wait, did she put the headphones on when you guys eat, every night?
No, but if I'm, eating something and she's not, and she's, working on the couch and I'm on the recliner working, she'll put on.
You're just chomping.
I try not to.
You have to eat. It's not tight,
Right.
Sure, you're just trying to, are you chewing with your mouth closed at all or what?
Yeah. I'm not
damn, so she's annoyed by you chewing with your mouth closed too?
Yeah. Wouldn't you be annoyed by me?
Yeah. Right. No, I understand that whole thing. I can't believe T is not annoyed by me by now too.
Yeah.
It goes both ways.
I can't do the donut thing again. We did. What year was that I ate the 10 donuts in 9
that
minutes?
Was 1998 or something.
Yeah, 2019.
Feels like it. Am I right?
My doctor would not be at this point thrilled.
Well, you're on the treadmill all the time, so it offsets.
It's the amount of sugar that would is not.
Can we hear from your doctor?
Great.
I want to hear from your doctor. Let's talk to him. Have him on. He or she. I'm sorry. DMB Rube. What is more insane? Snuggling with a random baby on a plane, or letting your neighbor's cat loiter in your house? Not to mention the cold case. Gay guy dying. See, the cat, I love animals, and if I saw a cat was like in danger, I definitely would want to help that cat. The baby thing, like to have a lady, I just would be like to help a lady out. It's not that. It's more of like, it's just wild. I never would put that together. Like, oh my God, you'd want me actually holding this child? Like, even when my nephew was born, I was like, okay, I'm going to sit down and you put the kid right there because I don't want to. I've had weird dreams about that shit, dropping a kid. It's just fucking crazy. But
I mean, I made the offer. It wasn't like she reached out to me. I made the offer.
You did. I understand.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying it's just more insane. It's an insane thing that you don't think it was such a crazy, like it was just a ho-hum thing for you. Letting your neighborhood is wild. So that doesn't, knowing that, it makes sense that a cat would just go in your house and stuff.
So, okay. If you were sitting on a flight with somebody, 3 to a row, and there's a woman next to you, and she's got a 4-year-old she's trying to read to, and you've been chatting for a little bit, and then there's this 2-year-old that's just crawling all over.
She's reading to her kid, and you're chatting with her.
Well, she was going to try to read to the kid.
Can you just mind your business though? Like, it sounds like you're like in everybody's business. It's on a plane. I've never been in anyone's business. I sit down, I stare straight ahead, I put earbuds in. I try not to pee. So people have to get up. You're fucking Mr. Entertainment. You got to get up. You got to hold babies and shit like a politician. It's like, what? That's why it makes it it's just annoying.
That is a
story. It's a noble thing that you did.
A story that at one point was worth telling. Presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company. And if you are looking for a date night this weekend, Midtown Brewing Company is a great place to go. And their Ale House mac and cheese, their Ale House mac is just really, really good. Buffalo chicken topped with bacon. You can add pork, carnitas, beer, cider, espresso, martini, whatever you want, and just create a great vibe at Midtown Brewing Company, 402 South Washington Avenue in downtown Lansing. And if you've been to one of our live shows, you know the atmosphere there and the vibe. And maybe we'll do another one this March before
we'll watch Graham eat to see how disgusting it is. I want to see, I want to see how disgusting. I agree with your wife, but it's just kind of like, if you marry the guy, you kind of have to, really, you got to put headphones on while he eats.
I did have a friend. I did have a friend once, and I remember I was like, this is 15 years ago now, but we were in Chicago, late night, coming home from an Irish pub. We'd get a pizza, and we'd both been drinking and
trying to start a fight on the way home.
No, he was
that swagger.
He was so disgusting in how he ate that pizza that I didn't want pizza for like a month after that. Like just watching the pizza inside his mouth, I didn't want.
Well, don't stare at your buddy, dude. That's the whole point. You guys are hammered. Just don't it's going to get nasty. I mean, you've eaten Taco Bell at 3 a.m. Hell, when I eat freaking popcorn from whatchamacallit over there, it's just fantastic. I don't want to be around people because it's disturbing when I eat popcorn. I'm just shoveling it in my face. It's gross, but if you're boys, just don't stare at each other.
Well, it's just
you had every little detail.
I just happened to catch it.
The way it just touched his tongue, where the cheese dripped down his throat. I was like, "Holy shit! How intent are you staring at your buddy? Just let him be."
Yeah, it rocked
God
me
damn, Couch, mind your business. Between the airplane, your buddy trying to eat a slice, fucking hell. Are we done? Oh, yeah. DMB, how many 3-pointers and at what percentage does MSU need to hit to win a national championship? Excuse me. They are the top fast break team in the nation, but is that enough?
It's a good question because they've been, hovering just below or around the 34% range in middle of the pack in the Big Ten. But obviously overall their season hasn't been great. I don't know what the number is. What they need it not to be an issue though, and they need more consistency out of Jaden Akins with it. And what would really help, and I think is if they're 2 stretch fours, if Kohler started hitting them, if Booker started hitting them, they need to be a decent 3-point shooting team because there will be a game where they just, first of all, it makes life so much easier if you can hit threes. I mean, look what that did to the game the other day when all of a sudden Trey Holloman hits like 3 in a few seconds. It's 9 points. It's boom. Everything's nice. Everything. Yeah, the lid comes off the basket. Everything's. So I don't know what the percentage is. It's a good question. They do a lot of other things well. That has not been a strength, but I don't think they have bad shooters necessarily. They just don't have a lot. They don't have anybody.
Can you be like the Chiefs in basketball though? Just keep winning games, and people don't really understand when they look at a stat sheet. They're like shocked by it.
Yeah,
you can steal that, by the way.
I think. Thank you. I think we'll get a better understanding this month of it because they're going to face more teams that are capable of being around in like the second weekend of an NCAA tournament or deep in the tournament. And what does it look like? I know it's a home game and home games are kind of bullshit, but when they place Purdue at home, what does that look like? When they're at Illinois, when they're at Michigan, when they're at Maryland, which I think is a really sneaky, difficult game, what does that look like? And even this weekend to some degree, and especially against UCLA on Tuesday night.
DMB next. How many three-pointers? And I read that one. Uper, will the basketball team stay in L.A. between the USC and UCLA games? Seems silly to fly back and then out west again a few days later, but also tough to keep an entire basketball team and staff in L.A. basically Friday through Wednesday. How does it work?
Yeah, they definitely stay out there. Otherwise, they wouldn't play these back-to-back. I mean, the whole point of playing, everybody plays, USC and UCLA together is so that it's
How are they going to handle
trip.
Good weather out in L.A., though?
Yeah, they'll be fine.
They're going to be okay? They don't want to come back for 30 degrees? And
they do this during the NCAA tournament, where it's 5 days all the time.
And these guys have money now, so you can go do stuff.
It's
fun.
Not,
it's fun now.
They're in nice hotels. This is not going to be a huge. And they'll practice, and they'll have, and they may do something together. Although who knows with the fires out there, what's how things are different.
Tyler, my take was something about Illinois being the best team in the Big Ten, winning the Big Ten, blah blah. But I can't remember my take. I forgot all about it. That was it? That was his thing? Okay, and from Scotty Green's El Camino, perhaps the Illinois fan base should shut the fuck up. Not a question, but appropriate today.
So Illinois loses at Nebraska in overtime on Thursday night. Now, in their defense, a lot of what they do revolves around their foreign big dude and his passing and other things. And so, they don't have a team that has the depth to, and that's, look, MSU does have a team that I think has the depth to withstand most injuries, not all, but
is that Kofi Cockburn night?
It's not.
Did they lose on Kofi Cockburn night?
This was at Nebraska.
Oh.
It would have been.
But Nebraska want to have a Kofi Cockburn night?
They might, because, I don't know that he did enough otherwise to have his jersey retired, but apparently he did so, maybe.
Honored.
Yeah.
Jersey honoring.
Okay.
Whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah.
Kurt Wisniewski, should the Pistons trade Beasley for draft picks?
Depends what you can get. I wouldn't do it for second rounders. I would do it for, first rounders or first round pick swap. Like if you think in the future you got a chance at a good first round pick, Beasley's a good player, and I think there's value in this Pistons team making the playoffs, making the play-in, trying to make the playoffs, and having those experiences. And you get rid of Beasley, it gets harder to do. So I think you want to be careful with that. But
I did watch the game the other night against Indiana because I saw Isaiah Stewart get tossed. And I'm I think one of the Piston fan accounts was like, "Bad boys are back," and I was like, well, of course that gets my attention because that's all I beg for to come back. So I had to tune in because I hate Indiana.
Yeah.
And it was fun, again, a little bit. The juices were flowing just a tad, but I need Isaiah Stewart to just start throwing punches again. But now he's suspended, right?
Yeah.
On his bobblehead night. It's as much Piston shit as I know right now.
That's pretty good. That impresses me.
Kurt Wisniewski. Thoughts on David Shaw being hired by the Lions as their pass game coordinator?
What are your thoughts?
Great. I don't know. Is David Shaw a good guy to have in the pass game coordinating play? I mean,
he was a good coach at Stanford.
Yeah,
and he did at Stanford. Like, I know people hate Harbaugh who are Michigan State fans, but what Harbaugh did at Stanford is still one of the more impressive things ever done. And Shaw continued that. And you're talking about a place where before that there were coaches who I've covered and talked to who worked there who just thought you could win like once every 4 years when you had the right veteran group. Like, it was just a hard place to win, right? And those guys changed the entire culture there, and so I do think there's some pretty good acumen. I think he was burnt out at the end, but yeah, I don't.
Wasn't he in line for some OC jobs or something? I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's tough to say. Like, oh yeah, this is a great hire.
He's a good coach. I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
Witty username: do the Red Wings have any say in Red Savage's treatment or rehab?
I'm sure they do. Yeah, I mean, he's a draft pick of theirs. Yes, I'm sure that things are done in conjunction with the Red Wings, 100%.
Witty, what point does MSU purge the fire Izzo and the game has passed them by? Spartan Twitter, big mouths. I don't know. Where are they? I don't see them on Twitter.
Well, they're still there. They're just not saying that anymore. To be fair to that group, I mean, it was 4 years of being sort of in the middle of the pack. And now I think a lot of that was player related. The question was, the big mistake Izzo made to me personnel wise was it 2 years ago not going and getting, was it 2 years? The years are all blurring together, but there was a year where they really needed to do it and they didn't. They needed help there, and and just sort of
bringing Sissoko back and being okay with that. I feel like the game has passed him by crowd wasn't as bad as fire Izzo. Right,
I think you have to be pretty young to and have very little perspective to be in a fire Izzo mode, because it's just the idea that Michigan State is, even if he has some rough spots, going to be better off in the post Izzo era than they are in the Izzo era. Even over the last 4 years is a real risk, and so you want to make sure that he's toast before people want to think that way.
Before you get on your Twitter account and anonymously tweet out fire Izzo. You better make sure you got your ducks in a row.
I have to say, this year though has been. He's been really good.
Fire Izzo, send.
He's been better than in previous years, and that whole staff is really good. And I think adding Saudi Washington was helpful, and I think they've got a really good mix that has come together in the right time in terms of additional guys, development, everything, guys they brought in. In terms of roster development or in roster construction, this is pretty good. And then the way they have sort of read the matchups in game to adjust to what's happening on the court, and I think has been better than really any time since I've covered them. Like, I remember in 2017-18 watching the Miles Bridges sophomore year team playing, and there were some times I just thought, why are you forcing this, or what is? There were times I very much disagreed with the things they were doing, and yet it feels like so in the beginning of this season, Tom Izzo says that he's going to let the players determine who plays. That's a very common thing for a coach to say.
Don't coach my team.
It's largely bullshit. I mean, it's true, but it's not like there are also but I would argue that most fans would think right now that most personnel decisions that have been made by Izzo and his staff in game have made a ton of sense this year. There haven't been a lot of well, why is this guy still playing? Why not more of this? And I think they've just been really good at adjusting on the fly.
So credit to Doug Wojcik then?
It's all Doug Wojcik.
Right.
Yeah.
Spartan Frank, can we wait a year before we start describing Dan Campbell as an amazing or elite NFL head coach? Sirianni took a 4-win team to the Super Bowl, and they had a down year, and everyone danced on his grave. Then he got it right. Need to see Dan do it without Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. Could be a disaster. I mean, I can understand that, but you have to, what Dan Campbell has that a lot of these other coaches have, or don't have, and you saw it in the opening press conferences for some of their new teams, is they don't have the it factor and a guy that you can get behind. A guy that said, we're going to go out and bite kneecaps, and everybody goofed on him, and rightfully so,
right.
But he came out to prove it. That is way harder to do than a lot of these other coaches, their X's and O's and like that. I feel as long as you have a guy like Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes feeding him players, I think the assistants that are going to buy in, they interview those guys, are going to come in and buy in the same mentality. So you can't get that anywhere else other than Dan Campbell. Everybody wants to be Dan Campbell right now. That's the amazing thing. I understand Andy Reid maybe knows more X's and O's, and Sirianni is a good X's and O's guy, but Sirianni crying at the fucking national anthems, you're sitting there going this is fake. But when you see Dan Campbell do some stuff like that, you go, that's a genuine-ass dude. I mean, the guy had a picture of him, like an old picture of him with a cigarette, and everybody with his shirt off with his wife back, and his wife posted that. Everybody's giving him credit. That's hard to get out of your head coach in today's NFL. I think that's why you put Campbell in the elite NFL coaches.
With Campbell, I would picture it like you picture MSU basketball now, right? You can only go based on the information you have at hand. Like, Michigan State has not played everybody in the Big Ten. There are tougher challenges ahead, tougher environments. But based on all the information we have, they've won 13 straight games, right? They are 9-0 in the Big Ten. They have done a lot of things the program hadn't done well for years. They're doing well now. They've got incredible depth and versatility and all that. All that stuff is there. All that stuff is true. Based on all the information we have, there is no reason to say they can't do it. With Dan Campbell, based on all the information we have, there's no reason to doubt the man. I mean, absolutely. I mean, you can look at the history of people have had to replace both coordinators, and there have been situations where it hasn't worked right away, or it's been a little bit been an adjustment period and all that, and that could happen. But the information at hand that we have today is that Dan Campbell's really good at figuring out who should be calling his offense and who should be calling his defense and running an operation that works.
And by the way, everything I've heard from people that I respect say Dan Campbell's a pretty good offensive mind as well.
Yeah.
Like some of that stuff wasn't just Ben Johnson. So, like I said, and in the fact that we actually have guys, and I can't stress this enough, in all the other regimes and like Matt Patricia, no one wanted to play for Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn. Now we have these guys in place. It's just amazing that we know that as long Dan Campbell is going to do whatever he can, right, to bring a Super Bowl to Detroit. I just don't think he'll ever stop. So that's what gives me confidence that we have. I mean, it's all we have right now. And I just don't see another scenario of us getting this close again. We have it in place.
Speaking of the Super Bowl, if you are going to a Super Bowl party or hosting a Super Bowl party, you want to make Groovy Donuts part of that. I'm telling you right now, if you're showing up at somebody else's house and you bring Groovy Donuts, people will be glad they invited you. And it also will help.
Even Graham.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I always show up with Groovy Donuts because otherwise people would just prefer.
We have to hear him eat like 5 of them, but
it's worth it because we get to have some. Yeah, it's, as long as he brings more than 5. Or if you're hosting one, and you can order your Super Bowl Groovy Donuts. If you want little Dan Campbell or Lions, helmets or whatever, they will do. If you want Kansas City Chiefs, whatever it is, they will do it for you. Monica and Andrew are great at Groovy Donuts. If you've got a basketball tailgate, you want to do it at your own house, you got basketball donuts, really cool. They've got a picture right now of some of the basketball donuts they do. And this weekend, by the way, the Mexican hot chocolate donut is back. Very, very, very cool as they celebrate National Hot Chocolate Day, which is today, apparently. Isn't that tremendous? National Hot Chocolate. I love the holidays that they discover. I think they create most of them over there at Groovy Donuts. One other big cool thing about Groovy Donuts, from what I understand, delivery is coming.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. This is going to be a game changer. So if you'd like to have Groovy Donuts delivered right to you, that is something that may be in the works pretty soon here. So just want to absolutely put that out there. But Groovy Donuts open 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday through Sunday. 2 locations, Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing, and also in Williamston.
MCV next. If Izzo could go back in time, which of the following players would he not recruit? Foster Loyer, Madi Sissoko, or A.J. Hogard? That's a good question.
Yeah. Well, Loyer for sure. I mean, he liked Loyer. I mean, these are all guys, that serve different purposes. And, Loyer was a guy that he was very fond of, but Loyer truly is a point guard, just couldn't do it at a level that they needed. And, you can't miss on point guards, right? It is a killer. Sissoko, if some other guys around him, like Sissoko became an issue because they didn't have other bigs. Like they should have, if Marcus Bingham early in his career had been the consistent force they hoped he'd be, if they had landed somebody, that one,
or if he played on this year's team where you could just have him go in if he F's up, then it's like, all right, Marty, thank you for that.
And AJ Hogard played some important. It wouldn't be Hogard. It would be one of the other two. I think it would be.
But the Foster Loyer thing is always curious because you watch him in high school and all that other shit, and it's just like, to get into Big Ten play, it's just, and all of a sudden.
Well, it's hard for people to know their
different
level.
Player, right?
I went to go watch him and play at.
But is that true though with AAU and stuff like that, right? Like I've talked about back in the day with Marcus Taylor when I played against him, I realized like there's no shot of me. Right, like you just tell it. People are just physically better than you. Doesn't he play in a lot of those AAU things?
He did,
but
there's not a whole lot of defense in some of those things. And I think they thought and you watch like the and I've talked about.
Well, then
this
Izzo can't really be to blame for that. Then
a lot of people thought he would be able to translate at that level. They just missed it barely. He was a mid-major plus player and not a Big Ten player. He was a guy who could play at Davidson and the NCAA tournament as a starting guard on a team that was a 10 seed, and MSU was a 7 seed, and I watched him go play when I did a piece on him. I watched him play Duquesne in Pittsburgh. Oh, actually, no, he missed that game. Where did I saw him a number of times on TV with that team. But point being, he found his level. They just missed on what his level was. And knowing that now, of course, I think they would not have recruited him.
MCV, during the college football playoff, there were too many articles about how Notre Dame got to keep all its revenue as opposed to splitting it up because it wasn't in a conference. Could this spur a trend where major programs leave their conferences for independency for a financial advantage?
The thing that Notre Dame has is the NBC contract. If you have a brand that is worth that sort of money, almost what people are getting on as part of a conference in the Big Ten, and even more of it, if you have that sort of brand, then it works. But it would not work for Michigan State. It would not work for most schools. Would it work for Ohio State if they could find some deal on their own with somebody? Yeah, sure. They could probably make that work if they really wanted to do that.
Moneybag next. Do you still think Connor Stalions being on the sideline was more of a CMU thing after hearing that, that Stalions and Sharon were texting about having Costner visit them in Ann Arbor? And from Moff Skeets, have you had a chance to read Michigan's rebuttal to the NCAA? If so, what are your thoughts on it?
So the Connor, I still think it was more of a CMU thing that night because I think that Costner orchestrated it for his benefit, for Costner's benefit. Now, I'm not saying Michigan didn't, that Stalions didn't want to be there, but I think Costner orchestrated it for his benefit to help CMU that night, right? And so for that part of it is, I think, a CMU story. And I've read, the reports on Michigan's rebuttal through the coverage through Ross Dellinger's reporting. It was all sort of expected. It's sort of one of those things where it feels to me like they are trying to not deny anything that's going to catch them lying anymore, because I think that's what kills you with the NCAA, but also not really fully cooperate or go in on this thing. The thing that I'm very curious about is what will the penalties actually be? Like, there clearly are a number of level 1 violations. And years ago, that would have been big, big trouble. So the question is, what authority does the NCAA have at this point to do anything to Michigan that really, what are they going to take Michigan out of the playoff? Or they can't even do that. Like, what will this punishment look like? Will it just be financial? Like, that's what I'm very curious about, what they're actually able to do. It's very clear that Michigan had people on staff who were aware that Stalions was doing things that were not allowed, right? And it's also clear from what I've read that some stuff was deleted that probably shouldn't have been. Some of it may have been innocuous, but I think it's clear they knew they weren't doing something right and they tried to get rid of some stuff. And it's clear, I think, the NCAA thinks they have not been truthful with them in certain components. They have not cooperated fully, and they get frustrated by that. And so
but like you said, the NCAA can't do anything about it. Really.
What will it look? Well, I think they're
going to get sued, and
financial penalty certainly. And the question is, what do they try to take away wins, and what does that mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know what the NCAA will do. What Michigan's response would be. I mean, the NCAA right now is, and this is a landmark case in that regard, because if the NCAA tries to come down on Michigan, and Michigan or the Big Ten or wherever it is says, screw you, we don't care what you think. I'm very curious about the authority of the NCAA in this moment and what they can actually do and what they're able to do. And that's what I'm most curious about, because there will be punishment. What will it look like? And, that I don't know.
Next one from Moff Skeets. Baked question. What's your go-to edible, indica, sativa, or hybrid?
Mostly indica. But indica and sativa both.
Sativa. It just depends on what you want to do. I like being have some sort of energy attached to a certain, a high. Depends on what time of day or something. So
correct. If it's late at night, it's an indica. But
he's on the treadmill. It's a hybrid.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Chuck Fish, should MSU play a men's basketball game at Jenison for old time's sake? I saw Penn State did this Thursday night.
So they played one there in 2012, and it was okay. I don't.
Yeah, but what channel is it going to be on, or what's streaming service? I don't trust these streaming services.
I mean, it was cool. I think it'd be cool to do once in a while. I think it's probably a pain in the ass, and
it has to be.
Yeah, so I don't.
What's the seating capacity?
The difference between Michigan State and Penn State is this. Penn State's current building was a mistake. Like I always say that Penn State badly needs, in their current building, a gas leak with nobody around to get hurt. Because they just built this dark, cavernous place and replaced a great atmosphere at their old field house. Michigan State built a place that fits it. That because of the concrete and metal, it's like you're on top. It created a good atmosphere. Like they don't have the same need for it. If I were Penn State, I would play all my games at the old field house to try to create atmosphere. I think you'd have a true home court advantage. It would be fun to do sometimes if they wanted to do it. They did it 13, 12 years ago, whatever it was, against Tuskegee, whoever they played that day.
Tuskegee.
Yeah.
Skylar Verdon, I noticed you threw a bit of shade at Detroit City FC fans a few shows ago when talking about Jared Goff chants. Graham, not a fan of Detroit City, are you?
So I'm somebody who judges my opinions of people.
Everyone?
No. Oh. My opinions of people are based on how I see them treat people and how how they treat me. And it's my issue with Jim Delaney is one specific situation I think said a lot about his character, right? That looking through another person, another human being, I hate that stuff. And Jim Harbaugh, my issue with Jim Harbaugh has nothing to do with him coaching Michigan, despite what some Michigan fans think. Like I have no issue with Sharon Moore, right? I have no issue with Dusty May. But it was the way he just, I don't know, he wasn't present when people were there. He didn't respect the people in front of him, and you could just tell. And it drove me nuts. And maybe that's something that he was born with, and it's not even, but I don't know.
You're born with that?
Well, it may not be something he has complete control of all the time. But I've seen him also be really personable in certain situations when he wants to be. So I don't know. With Detroit City FC, they were used to be in the same league as Lansing Common. Not Lansing Common. Lansing United, before Lansing Common. Lansing United. And they were like a rivalry. And, they were, and I don't mind them, Lansing United blew a lead at one point, but there was a smugness about Detroit City FC at a certain stage and their fan base that drove me fucking batshit. I'm sorry. And it just did. And I also, I at one point questioned how many people were there for the smoke and that actually saw the soccer game and knew what who's starting in the midfield for them, which is fine. People should go for their own reasons. But that was my issue. Early on, I had issues with some of the Detroit City fans online, and that's it. That's all it is.
Give out your soccer picks again. What was that? +1, +2? Asian line. Corey Ostrom, doesn't the contrast in the pieces written on Michigan football sign stealing scandal by Matt Hayes of USA Today and Windsor show that it's a blue wall and not a curtain? Or will you hide behind your national writers our ass take? Windsor celebrating Michigan fighting with more lies is gross.
So I scanned the Windsor piece. I hadn't read it just before the show when I saw this question.
Welcome to the blue wall.
The Windsor piece to me looked like the Detroit Free Press's effort to. It was much more of a newser. It was more letting people know what Yahoo had reported is what it really was. There wasn't a lot of opinion to it. It was not a take a side thing. It was the Matt Hayes of the USA Today piece was he came down strong and felt a certain way, and that's why Windsor's a thoughtful dude. I think anybody's seen him on the show, and he is not somebody who many conversations about all this stuff. He's not somebody who's in bed with Michigan or cares about that stuff. But it did not seem to me, it seemed like for his purposes, what he was trying to do was just basically let people know the news. It did not seem like a column, even though it had his column tag atop it and all that stuff. Well, I am not denying that
Welcome to the blue
coverage
wall.
of Michigan athletics has not been as intense as it should have been on certain issues from the Detroit media. I no longer deny that stuff. I certainly don't. And but I don't think this was an example of that.
Bo McJunkins next. Is MSU recruiting in football to compete as a top team in the Big Ten or the top team in the MAC? I'm cool with 3 stars to fill out a class, but the offer sheets have us competing with Toledo and Bowling Green. This is what killed the end of the D'Antonio era.
I think the most important thing in this new age of college athletics, and this is from talking to coaches and also just seeing places that are doing it well that aren't necessarily Ohio State that can just go, buy a roster. And even Ohio State, you look at a lot of those guys were homegrown. I think the real key is being able to build a roster, develop it. You're going to have to pay some guys to come in, but having the money to retain the guys you develop and then letting that feed on itself and recruit at a higher level. Like, you don't ever let Nick Marsh get away, right? You don't let Aiden Childs get away. And as you get more and more of these guys over time, you have to make sure you're that's where your salaries are. And again, I don't know. I mean, I know you're just being facetious here, Bo, but they're not recruiting to try and be in the top team in the MAC. They're trying to be a top. This is what Alan Haller told me. The goal is to be a consistent top 6 team out of 18 in the Big Ten, and if you're that, then you'll compete for championships. And so that's not only the goal, but that's the edict. I mean, that's what they've been told they need to be able to do.
Next one from Bo. Do coaches who have no knowledge of sign stealing usually say, I don't want this manager being a part of your sign stealing operation? When you fight with your spouse, do you delete text out of anger?
I delete all her texts. I go in and delete all her texts with all her friends. I just go in and she has no record of them. No, I'm kidding.
You're eating loud again, send.
But did anybody think that Michigan didn't have people on that staff, a couple of people who were aware of what was happening? I don't know. To me, at this point,
now you're a big Connor Stalions guy.
I'm not a Connor Stalions. The thing I went off on the other day is I thought relative to the other things happening in our world, it's like
I don't get the problem. I don't see the problem with
it. It wasn't that.
It sounds like a passionate young man.
It's like I just don't give a shit about that relative to this is what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Steve Whitaco, do you think we'll see smaller colleges lean into programs cut by big schools? CMU with their baseball program and et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, I think smaller schools are really going to I think there will be most schools will lose between 2 to 6 sports within the next 5 years. Most schools, even the big ones, small ones for sure. I'm talking Division I level because there's a different model at other levels.
Steve Whitaco, do you tell people about joining the Smile High Club at Hallmark parties? Should we bring babies for you to hold at the next live event?
I like babies. Yeah, I would happily hold your. If you have a baby and you bring them to the live event, I will hold your baby while we do the show.
Great. Oh, the Smile High Club. Yeah. Dan Campbell's Tears. Next, Graham, have you ever walked out on a Broadway show?
I saw this. I was trying to think if I have. I mean, there have been this ones that I didn't love. I don't
stand up and put a thumbs down and walk out.
Usually it would be like you leave at intermission. You're like, I'm not coming back for the
intermission.
For the
do they all have intermission?
Not all of them, but most do. Like one, if you want to go to a shorter one that's fantastic, that's actually in Detroit soon here, is Come From Away, which is really, really good.
Say what?
Come From Away it's a great energy.
It's the Mel Tucker story?
No, it's about the people all landed in Newfoundland after 9/11. Yeah, no, it's really
9/11.
Yeah, it's a 9/11 musical.
Oh,
I mean, it's not about.
Is it a musical?
Yeah, it's a musical.
An upbeat musical?
Upbeat musical about 9/11.
Holy
Come
shit.
From Away pulled it off. Absolutely.
Sean McDermott, he's the head conductor there. I don't know.
I don't believe I've ever walked out on a Broadway show.
9/11 one, you might.
This was really good. I saw it in London. It was unbelievable. It was so good.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Dan Campbell's Tears. Who wins the Super Bowl?
Who you got?
Who gives a shit? That's what I got. I don't care.
How many?
Whatever props. I'm going to do a prop single game parlay.
How many MGs of pure options are you going to have in your system during the Super Bowl?
Nothing out of the ordinary. Just the standard game. Of course, I'm going to watch it. But yeah, I'm not. Why? You think I'm going to go full tilt because the Lions aren't in it? Like, I'm smoking 10 joints tonight, man. The Lions aren't in it. No, I still want to pay attention. See it.
It will be one piece of advice on the Super Bowl props, and we'll do a whole props thing next week. And so I'll repeat this then: is don't overdo the props. That would be my big advice.
As Graham will be overdoing the props.
I have overdone them before.
Hedging.
You wind up.
He's the hedge king, so don't listen to him.
Props are hard to win sometimes.
They are,
and there's nothing worse than it. And you're having a good time. You're like at a friend's house. You're at your own house. You got some pure options, some groovy donuts. You're sitting in a muskox. It's fantastic. And then you look down and you're like, I'm losing 32 props right now, and I'm winning 3, and I put too much money on all of them. this sucks. Like,
so what's the number you cap it at to do props?
I try to pick 10 around that range. But small amounts.
I love you just almost turn this into a 1-800-GAMBLER after-school special, and then I'm like, how many?
But if
at least double digits.
But if you put like $25
maybe
on
15 if I'm feeling good.
10 props, you're not likely to lose very much money.
I know, but it just like you were giving advice, like maybe just 2.
Just keep it below 30. I would argue. Yeah.
Dan Campbell's Tears. What is your karaoke go-to song to sing? It's so hot in here. Well, I don't. Now that I don't drink anymore, I don't do karaoke. Yeah. So, but I used to do "Take on Me" by Aha, "America" by Neil Diamond, and "Hero" by Enrique.
Nice.
Yeah,
I do not do karaoke anymore either. I had a bad experience doing a trio of Italian Restaurant by Billy Joel, which is not a good karaoke song, and I've not done one since.
Where was it?
This was in. Actually, I have done karaoke since, but this was in. This was in the residence halls at Columbia College, Chicago, and 3 of us did. First of all,
so you tried claiming that was the last time you did it, but then realized that was college.
I got sucked into a couple others, but I used to like it, and that was like I just remember how bad it was. First of all, that song's like 8 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard song.
Neil
to do
Diamond
alone.
America was the same.
Yeah,
man, when it didn't land and no one clapped after I was done. Oh, that silence.
The bad thing is you get to like 3 more minutes left and it's still going. People are just looking at you and there's not a whole lot of response. And
you don't need to leave the interlude in. It's like a 2-minute interlude. I'm just walking around talking to people at their tables like a lounge act. It was embarrassing. And we're just walking back to the table. My friends are all just looking down at the tables like, oh, my God. That's tremendous. Yeah. Couch on Fire, who will be the first school to rush the floor after defeating the men's basketball team?
That will be the ultimate sign of respect.
Illinois.
Because, when Michigan State, like, Michigan State arriving as a program, not just having a great team and all this, but arriving as a program, I still trace back to the year after they won the national championship when they were ranked number 1 in the country, and Indiana beat them with a last-second shot. And Indiana, which go back to 2001, is not far removed from being like the program that's it's the blue blood of the Big Ten still. It's the program of the Big Ten. It's like a year after Bobby Knight was gone. Mike Davis is the coach. And they stormed the court at Indiana after beating Michigan State. And it was like that back then, that was like Duke storming the court after beating you. Like that was a huge, huge deal. So the question is, does Michigan State have that sort of respect? I think does it happen if, how high does Michigan State get in the rankings? And does it happen I guess it could happen at maybe, I don't know. Iowa wouldn't do it. I don't think Maryland would do it. Would Illinois do it? I don't think Illinois would. Maybe they
see it. Why not?
Yeah. I'm just looking at road games. Would Michigan do it? I don't think so. I don't think their basketball fan base would do it. Just looking at road games, I mean, Illinois, the only road games they have left after the California trip are, and I don't think it'll be out there because there'll be too many MSU fans. I think are, Illinois on the road, Michigan, Maryland, and Iowa. So I don't think it happens this year.
Couch on Fire, what do you think of the coordinators poaching assistant coaches from Campbell's staff? I'm sure that will endear them to Jason even more. Well, you're going to lose guys when you win that many games, and we're a Super Bowl favorite. So I don't know. You can't let it bother you that much.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to Ben Johnson, now he's, with the Bears, now F him. Aaron Glenn, the Jets, all right, have fun with that, but more power to him. I don't care. Clint One Ball Bainey with One Ball Twitter questions. How far back will the Lions fall with the vacuum of leadership, or don't they fall back?
Again, there's no evidence to this point that they will.
As long as they don't let Rod Wood around a phone,
yeah, they're
fine. Just keep Rod Wood in his office doing nothing.
They just need to keep drafting like they're drafting, and obviously you hope you hit on the coordinators. And I'm not saying they're going to win 15 games next year.
You're not. That would have been amazing if you did, though.
I think,
and you were confident.
I think they can be really good, though. I think they're really good.
One ball. When will MSU lose its first conference game, or do they run the table?
I don't think they run the table. It could happen against UCLA. Like Ken Palm projects them to lose. If Illinois is 100% healthy, and I know that is going to be a buzzsaw, and they may get to that point. Oregon at home will be a little bit of a challenge. Indiana at home is not, depending on that Indiana team, you never really know. Illinois on the February 15th, I think Michigan State can win the game, but if you had to pick one that you really thought. And UCLA, it may happen this weekend, but my money would still be on Illinois. And if they get through there, the Michigan matchups will be interesting because I have this weird feeling that they match up pretty well with this Michigan team. And obviously you'll see that. And I think they may. I think there's a chance they sweep them. I think Maryland on the road is going to be tricky too on the 26th. If I had to pick their losses, there would be 3 of them at least, and it would be Maryland, Illinois, and somewhere else.
Last one from One Ball. What place do the Tigers finish in the division? Aren't they the favorite, though?
I don't think they're the favorite, are they?
Not a favorite?
I don't know. Hold on.
I know we're not because we're not adding anybody.
Give me some Hoff.
Passenger.
Riding right up into my rectum, and it was painful.
I ride through the city's backside. I see the stars come out of the sky. Yeah, they're bright in the hollow sky. You know it looks so good tonight.
All
right. We're dropping MFers now?
So in the AL Central, this is a division where nobody knows what's going to happen. Here are the odds for the AL Central. Minnesota, plus 220 is the favorite. Next is Cleveland, plus 260. Tigers, plus 280. Royals, plus 290. You're talking 4 teams between plus 220 and plus 290. There's a zero value, and nobody knows what the, so, I
need the season to start and then maybe hope there's a slow start. Or
then you get the White Sox at like plus 25,000.
Jesus.
That sucks.
I forgot about Cleveland. They're supposed to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no value on the Tigers.
I'm looking forward to it, though. Their regular season wins with the Tigers this year. What do you think it is?
78.5?
Nah, 83.5.
83.5.
83.5. I mean,
it's too close.
I'll probably take it.
Is that minus 110?
It's actually even money right now.
Yeah, we got a month or two.
We'll figure it out.
Get the juices flowing on that.
Yep.
That's your baseball update.
Presented by somebody.
Jay Riemenschneider, the Almighty, has ordained that MSU football is going either 5-7 or 8-4 this year. No other outcome. If you were forced to bet $100 to win $10,000, which win total you betting on?
5-7 or 8-4? Boy,
man, I get those odds.
You got to hit either 5 or 7 or 8-4.
Yeah, I'm gonna go the 8-4.
Are you?
Yeah. I don't want to root for a 5-7 ass team. Just I win 10 G's, fantastic. It's a weird mentality to be in the whole season.
I get that it's a tough schedule. I
want to just hope Aiden Childs can win 8.
Yeah, I mean it's a good. It's just been so long since you've. I guess it hasn't been that long. It was a couple years ago, but I think it would probably, because they have, they got Western, Boston College, and Youngstown State start at home, right? You're already, if you got anything to you, you're 3-0. Then you go at USC, at Nebraska, home UCLA. You should win that. It should be 4 wins. At Indiana, who knows what they'll be, home versus Michigan. At Minnesota versus Pennsylvania. I would go 5-7. I'm sorry. If you're telling me $100 to win $10,000, I would go 5-7.
Next one from Jay. Jason, what's so special about the Paul Skeens baseball card that's been in the news lately? Well, Livy Dunn is near it, so that brings attention towards it, and it's a 1-of-1, which is rare, a patch card. It's a Paul Skeens. I mean, Paul Skeens, I think he has a lot of this heat because a lot of baseball, like the pitchers in baseball, their cards aren't as coveted for some dumb reason like other like positional players and stuff like that. So I think Livy Dunn is the reason why a lot of it's getting a lot of attention, and the fact that the Pirates, like apparently some 11-year-old kid like ripped it. They don't know where he's located or something like that, but the Pirates were going to offer him like 20 years of season tickets or something to give the card to Skeens. Like someone did an audit on what the Pirates were offering, and it was like $500,000 in value, where they think that card could maybe get up to like $1 million or something like that. And it was like Livy Dunn is going to take this 11-year-old to a baseball game and all this stuff. It just seems contrived. It's like, I don't know. I love vintage cards, so I pay attention to that market more than like the new stuff, because a lot of it's just.
So like a card, like a Tarek Skubal card, that stuff doesn't interest you at all. It's
no,
more
I have. Listen, I have a lot of pitcher cards. I respect pitchers. I love pitchers, so I do get those. But I'm saying as far as a market, if a lot of guys like to resell their cards and make an investment and then sell them later, it just seems pitchers aren't as, maybe it'll change with guys like Skeens, but like a guy like Garrett Cole, right? He's a kind of like what Skeens is going to be, and his cards are all right, but they're not. They just don't get into the news like the Skeens one. So, anyway, all right. Spawn of stout sponsors next. Only one question for our muskox adorned, pure options infused T-Rex armed friend Graham. Okay, will anyone behind the hashtag Blue Wall actually write a column demanding U of M Ann Arbor be held accountable, or will everyone fall in line like the complicit GOP sycophants in Congress?
I think what you're, again, to me, at this point, it's based on everything we know, it's what is the NCAA going to do? The NCAA clearly thinks they have the goods to, the number of level 1 violations, like a half dozen of them, right? So like the NCAA has, based in the old days, the goods to lay down the hammer. But what does that look like today? That's what I'm curious about. That's the stuff that's more interesting to me. What does it do if you write that column? A guy at USA Today just wrote it. Does it fucking matter? What? So the next day happens. I don't know. Where do we go from that? Like, it doesn't mean anything. I'm not saying my job is worthless or useless, and I didn't mean it like that.
That's what Graham is saying. Free Connor Stallions.
I did not.
Enough of the talk he's saying.
Let's take a really quick break. We come back. We'll get back into your groovy donut Twitter questions. Couch in the Rube, presented by Pure Options, Craft Cannabis, and our Friday afternoon show brought to you by our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app.
Hey, sports fans, are you tired of the same old routine? Looking for a way to unwind after a long day? Look no further than Pure Options, the premier destination for all of your cannabis needs in Lansing, Detroit, Muskegon, and Mount Pleasant. Whether you're cheering for the Lions, Spartans, or the Wolverines, Pure Options has everything you need to elevate your game day experience. Mention Couch the Rube when you visit Pure Options and get a Pro Grow 8th with a $50 purchase. It's our way of saying thank you for being a loyal listener. Swing by Pure Options today and elevate your cannabis experience to a whole new level. Firekeepers Online Casino and Sportsbook is the site to play from your phone, tablet, or laptop. Get in on all the football action with pre- and in-game wagering. There's showdowns every week in football that you can't miss. Plus, the college and pro hoops are red hot, and the pucks are cool. Get your first casino deposit and sports wager matched up to $500 each. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Where else can you cheer on your team, enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi, sip on handcrafted cocktails, or one of 46 beers on tap? Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen, Bar, or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with one awesome blended modern American-Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite, Podcast Addict.
Couch in the Rube, presented by Pure Options Craft Cannabis, which, if you're still listening, hopefully you're familiar with and partaking right at this moment. And also our Friday afternoon show presented by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today and bet the games with us. And always, of course, bet responsibly. Back to the Groovy Donut Twitter questions.
All right, Matt C. Next. Is this Izzo's best job managing rotations ever? I think so. I love Kohler this year, but Rutgers wasn't a good matchup for him, and Izzo didn't force it like he did with Ben Carter versus Syracuse and Kenny Goins versus Texas Tech.
It might be. I didn't cover the team before 2012, so I can't speak to like what he did with that 2005 team that made a Final Four that had a lot of different parts and things like that. So I don't know. For me to say ever. but in my experience covering them, I don't think he's done a better job with a group than this, and for a number of reasons. It's a different era. It's a more challenging era. I mean, look at everybody who's tried to like buy a roster right now, and that includes Illinois, who's now run into some stuff. Nowhere is it really, really working out. Now, you can supplement it. USC has a roster full of transfers, and Musselman's been a pretty successful coach. And you just pound for pound, you go, boy, that team looks just about as good as MSU, and they're not, right? And at home, they may win this game this week. Who knows? But, they've done the whole staff done a really good job, and a lot of credit goes to the players, too, for buying into sort of a winning first, low ego mentality that's allowed them to not have, when somebody plays 13 minutes on a given day, it's not an issue. It's not a story.
Matt C. next. Does Illinois ever win another basketball game? That fan base deserves a 10-year NIT run.
They're passionate. I mean, that's
coming from Matt C.
Yeah, right. It's a basketball school, right? It's like Indiana. It's a place where that's what stirs them. And that's why they've been as vocal as they are, and I think they're frustrated, is what they are. They're also frustrated, and there's a hint of, if you're Illinois, it drives you nuts that you thought this was going to be a special year. You have a top 5 NBA pick. It looked like, and they still may have a high ceiling, but it's been a struggle of late.
Thomas, I saw something about how the college football playoff title game is going to be around this time next year, I think. Will anyone even remember to tune in by then?
I don't think it's going to be any later than it was this year. I think it's about the same. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's the same format, really. So it didn't really bother me having it on that Monday night. It doesn't bother me.
It was in the mix of the NFL playoffs, and
it loses some momentum. I would love to see it like 10 days earlier. Something right there. I would love to see it 10 days earlier.
Next one from Matt C. Can you ask Solari to build on his story of MSU athletics being underwater financially and see how it compares to the rest of the conference? It seems like gross mismanagement from our mall cop AD Haller, but we need to see how it compares to other schools.
Well, just doing a quick scan of things, it looks like, a number of other schools in the Big Ten are also operating right now at a deficit. Some of the numbers in there are a little. I'm going to try to do something on this soon because some of the numbers on there, from what I understand, like the idea that they're $91 million in debt, they're not. That's not their operating budget. They're not 91. Some of that is like projects like Mun Arena that they're still paying off or things like that. Like there's still. So some of those numbers are probably need to be more explained than what was was there, and so I'm going to try to do that in the next few weeks because I do think it's important. I didn't raise a lot of eyebrows, and it's something to get into. But I'm going to tell you right now, if they were really $91 million in debt, Alan Haller would not have a job.
Suburban Man of Leisure next. I recognize this isn't a political podcast, but what are the chances the Title IX overreach regarding revenue sharing can be eliminated by telling Trump Title IX is DEI or woke?
The Title IX thing will be interesting going forward, and what happens with the Supreme Court, because there are things that are going to get challenged, and people are going to get sued one way or another, right? There's going to be Title IX lawsuits. There's going to be people, or you're going to get people on the football side saying we're creating the revenue, and obviously you can, if you, I don't want to get into that, but it's a very interesting time for Title IX, and I do think this is a Supreme Court, and Title IX is a very important law. It's one of the most it's an incredibly important law, but it's allowed this so much to happen with women's sports and in this country, and it's an educational rule anyway. It's an incredibly important law, so there needs to be I hope people are careful in understanding that, but there needs to be some understanding, and there shouldn't be overreach, and certain things aren't Title IX. Like what's creating revenue for college athletics is football, and football. And that's just is what it is. And I think we all need to come to that reasonable conclusion.
I think if I were a listener of this podcast, I think I would send a political question once a week just to hear.
We're starting to get a few. Well, here's the problem. And I don't mind. Like, I don't mind. Send them in. We may not do them. We may read them. We may not,
it just depends.
And we'll get into what we want to get into, and everything's welcome. And we know there are lots of people on this show who come from all
don't
sorts
give
of
a shit and don't want to hear about
don't want to hear it. Some people are, very ideological on one side or the other, and some people, and this is their escape, or they, whatever it is. But we'll tread lightly. We'll say that. But life is life, and if it's a Twitter question, we'll get into it.
Almost 1,000 episodes. Mr. Neurotic Pants, Jason, if you could have either tickets to see Oakland play Central Michigan University at Little Caesars Arena or access to premium level Pornhub, which would you choose? Damn, dude, there's a premium. What do you get with premium level? I've been using free. I think I'd take premium Pornhub.
Yeah?
Yeah. I love Greg Campy. I went to his basketball camps when I was a young teenager, so I love Campy. But, I mean, to drive down there and, I don't know, right? I don't go to Michigan State games in Breslin's like right down here. Why would I go to Oakland and Central Michigan, or I would have Pornhub Premium?
Yeah,
which must be amazing.
I didn't have any doubt which way you were going with that.
Oh. All right.
I just was hoping you'd expound.
Pornhub Premium, yeah. Neurotic Pants, MSU hockey and basketball were on a tear, but it seems that they could be headed towards a slump. MSU Hoops plays strong teams on the West Coast, and hockey can't win 2 games in a row, and Augustine isn't the brick wall that he was earlier in the season. Can you help me calm my tits?
Well,
that was going to be the name of the podcast before Couch and the Rube.
Yeah.
Can you help me calm my
calm my tits? Couple things. One, you want to be playing your best at the end of the year, and you're right. MSU hockey was playing amazing for a while, and they dropped a game. We'll see what happens Friday night at Ohio State. They've had a few injuries, and but with MSU basketball, don't presume a slump is coming. I mean, yeah, they're going to hit a hiccup at some point, but this is a little glass half empty here. I would just say that every other fan base, basketball fan base, and hockey fan base, other than maybe Minnesota, but probably even would rather be Michigan State right now, right? Like that's how I would
help me calm my tits. I'm sorry, I just can't stop thinking about that.
So
it works actually.
There you go.
Jealous that you have that one. Neurotic Pants, Graham. What is MSU men's basketball's most underappreciated victory this season?
It might be Samford, and I say that, and obviously they've won a lot of other big, important, or more important games. But hold on, let me go back to that real quick. 1 second.
I am a passenger. I stay under glass. I look through my window so bright.
Okay.
I see the stars come out.
So to me, I mean, Ohio State on the road was important. Northwestern on the road. There have been lots of important wins. But Samford was back when they were, they got down against Bowling Green. They struggled against Samford. Samford was, was still an okay team, like basically 102 in Ken Palm. And they played a style that was difficult for Michigan State. They had to figure it out. It was frenetic pressing and all that. It's helped them in other games this year. So I think it paid it forward. It was a win that gave them some confidence for whatever reason. And, Samford's 17-5 now. It's not like it's a win that's wasn't against a quality team. I think that is like, it was a home game. It was against a mid-major, be it a good mid-major. But it was a tough game, and they got through it. And I think it's one of those games where, coming off that Bowling Green game too, where they knew going into Maui after that game that they had a little juice to them, and that game created it.
Detroit Spartan Couch, you've alluded to some instances of beef between you and Izzo. When did you piss him off the most?
It's a good question.
Don't coach my team.
I mean, that has to be number one.
No, it's not. No, I pissed him off more than that. I mean, that was just Izzo gets. There have been times where games don't go well where he's annoyed at a question and he's not really that mad at you. When he's been actually mad at me, there've been a few. I wrote a column, about. Yeah, I've written a couple columns. One that, during the period it was post Nasser. It wasn't even yeah, it was like 2019. We were doing this show because I remember he was yelling at me right outside that door on the phone. He was not happy, and I had to immediately do the show with you. We were doing 5 days a week back then. And I wrote a column just about it had something to do with a woman who had come forward with some sexual assault claims and how he could help prevent that in the future. And he was upset. He didn't like my advice, number one. But I made a big mistake that day, and I'll admit to this, certainly. I didn't reach out to him for the column. It wasn't a column saying that it was basically what he could do to help prevent it. So it wasn't me smearing his character. But I still should have reached out to him. And I usually do for things because that's, I
actually have a clip of that phone call.
Right now, either you're stuttering or I'm not picking it up because it's what. So.
But I went into his office that afternoon and we talked for like 4 hours, and he was pretty pissed off at me.
4 hours?
4 hours.
God damn. Izzo loves to talk.
Oh, there are
4 hours.
There are times on
just
other
you,
things,
just staring at you.
There are other times that it's amazing. You just don't have.
Do you have lunch or something? Do they bring snacks at all?
No, you just don't.
I mean, I would love to talk to Izzo for 4 hours. I'm talking about Izzo looking at you and going, I'm going to hit some more things. Hour 3 with Couch. I mean, like,
There are times that you call him for a story or he calls you for a story that you wanted to talk to him about, and you need like 10 minutes of his time. And you realize an hour later when he's still talking about other things and he needs to go that you haven't actually gotten to the reason you wanted to talk to him. Like, that's just, I mean, look, he is a gem in a lot of ways. And one of the things that he's really good at is
talking for 4 hours with you.
What I mean is,
it's amazing.
One of the complaints that I think people have justifiably with certain types of journalism is access journalism, right? People who curry favor for access or aren't hard on people for access. One of the things that, is in a columnist role for 12 years writing about a guy, you're going to write things that piss him off. And my job is not to make him happy. But I'm also aware that I can, that you can always talk it out with him. I'm always going to show up the next day. He's never going to, if you are fair to him, he's not going to, even if you criticize the heck out of him, he's not going to try to keep you away from the program or anything like that. I
Why don't you write something?
That is something that most places just don't have. And I think that was one of the frustrations that he had during a lot of that stuff that was going on with ESPN years ago, where you'd get these ESPN reporters would show up grandstanding at his press conferences. Part of the complaint with that was he's like the most accessible coach in America. If this isn't about you being on camera asking the question, you can reach him by phone. He's the most. I had to get a hold of him 2 days ago. Texted him. He called me back an hour later in a busy day. And we set up a time for that night.
God,
and then we chatted.
He loves to talk.
He is accessible. Unlike anybody, anybody else not anybody else I've covered, but anybody at that level. And anyway, but at that time, that pissed him off. I wrote something that he was not a fan of, and it was a time that things were hard on him. So some of his frustration was not just on me, but it was on everything that was going on. But he was not happy.
Detroit Spartan also, as a relatively new listener, could you explain to us how you and the Rube linked up in the first place? What's the origin story of this podcast?
I saved the Rube from drowning, and then we started it. No.
We were both in the waiting room at Hawaii Spa, and Justin Tucker had been there 3 times, his third time for the day, so he was taking his sweet time. No, I mean, it's not even a great story, I don't think.
No, I was filling in with Cody Tucker, a mutual friend of ours, used to work at the LSJ, on a radio show that Jason used to produce, and we were doing it for the week. And so Jason was producing that, and there was good chemistry. And originally, Cody and I had talked about doing a show, with Jason after that, and then Cody left. And I knew that day that, or that week that I was like, there's.
I told the story about getting my car accident settlement and basically having the $40,000 settlement in my car, and Couch thought that was hilarious, and I was like, man, I could see this guy telling a jail story in a parking lot one day. Oh man,
that's how it started. Yeah.
It really did. And then almost 1,000 shows later,
we're still doing it.
Jesus H, it's wild. Mark, next, knowing that your 1,000th show should have aligned with an on-location hit from a Detroit Lions Super Bowl is supremely depressing. The Rube probably would have self-combusted, would have been incredible. Yeah, that was the plan.
It would have been amazing if that had hit next Monday or when going into the Super Bowl with the Lions. There's no question about it. That would have been fun. that would have been, but it was not.
Jeff Ewart said I could smoke weed in here if they would have won. It would have been a great show. I had a little ashtray and just crushing joints in here. Oh my God! Hopefully next year. I'm gonna hold him to it. Mark, no, blah blah blah. Mitchell Robinson, can you say more about the music at the opening of each episode? It's I don't know, because we started up on YouTube and we kind of need a bumper to where we start to let people know, because we start at different times, and on the YouTube it does ask you like what time do you want to start it. So I don't know, and so you can't really use any good music. You have to use some generic stuff because of copyright stuff. So I figured when the this music, when this plays, there's like a minute. This is like 45 seconds a minute, right? And then when that plays, then we kick the open.
So is he talking about the open or the music you play before?
Well, there's also the jazz, the piano kind of jazz vibe that I have going, and then Couch is kind of like, put you behind the fourth wall here. Couch is like, I'm ready. So then I have that, and then I dip it down. Anyway, so that's where it does come from. It kind of gives us, because we try to still do this as like a live kind of podcast. So
and Doug Warren put it together for us initially, correct?
The open,
right? Yeah.
The other music, I just started deciding to do that.
Right.
So.
Right, yeah. The open, The open, I've heard, I don't think I want to change the open because
Why would we change the open? After all of these years?
We could make it shorter. No? Okay.
All of my favorite shows ever have had like an open that kind of fades out, and it's perfect. I don't know.
But the whole thing about know-it-all sports writer and do we need that? Do we need that?
Oh, you're offended by that?
No, I'm not. Not at all offended. I'm not offended. I'm just saying, is it too long? For people who listen all the time, to have to hear that every time, I'd be like, oh, my God, this again.
I haven't heard one complaint.
Okay, well, I'd be interested in what you people think about it.
Yeah. We're not going to change it anyway, but we'd love to hear what you think. Professor Jason, if you could only keep one drop, which would it be? Oh, man.
Really good pianist.
That's a top fiver. This Tony D.
Come here, Minnesota. What are we telling
I mean,
what are we telling
it's a little long.
What did we tell you? What did we tell you? Come here and take it.
He's hitting a chair with a belt after the Minnesota. I mean, I want to hear that before I die, before I pass away. They're like, Jason, you're about to die. I want them to play that. I mean,
I like the Fred Human one.
Oh, absolutely.
I felt all of Fred Human.
Yeah.
Cockburn.
I mean, Cockburn brings me so much joy.
Yeah.
Especially the way that like Izzo having the presser, and then Couch so giddy coming in, he goes, Izzo said Cockburn. So like the whole thing behind it, we've been playing it for years. So those would be a couple.
Yeah. No,
definitely lads would be in there.
The Broke My Chair one was a big one we did for a long time too, and people probably don't know the origin. I mean, Zion was a big deal because he was a huge guy, and I just broke my chair. So this was during the pandemic, because I was we were doing the shows remotely. You were here, and I was at home. And even though, you think back to that, like Zion was a big deal because he was a huge guy, and I just broke my chair.
Dude.
I mean, this studio is like built for one of those movies where there's like an outbreak, because like I'm in a totally different, but anyway, I was at home, you'd be here, and
you had a hazmat suit on when you came back in. And
it
was pretty easy when we thought about it.
Yeah. Anyway, but my chair at home is the one I broke.
I think we did this a couple shows ago explaining this, but I mean,
Zion was a big deal because he was a huge guy, and I just broke my chair.
Hearing the bolt, whatever, just.
Zion was a big deal because he was a huge guy, and I just broke my chair.
Blowing the chair out, and it's something fired off a chair.
Zion was a big deal because he was a huge guy, and I just broke my chair. You know what we do think, though? I just said that, that we probably didn't need to be at home during COVID, but my wife and I also think this is where I got sitting in this chair. They think the first time I got COVID was from here.
Wow, what a great follow-up story. We just had fun. We were laughing up a little bit. Any 9/11 stories you want to
No, we think it was Audrey
reminisce
Dahlgren. We think it was Audrey Dahlgren.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So Dahlgren was the COVID carrier?
I don't know.
Is that what you're trying to...
All we can think of...
Why'd you have to out her?
We can't figure out where... it was still when everything was very separate, right? It was like between shots and vaccination stuff, like early days.
Is that what happened to her podcast then?
No, but she was in the mic the hour before me, and that's all we can think of.
I just never know what's going to happen with this show. I thought we just had a good little segment. We played a couple drops.
Yeah.
Audrey Dahlgren gave me COVID.
I don't know that that's true. I shouldn't have said that. We'll fix that in post. We'll fix that in post. I don't know that. I don't know that to be true. Because I don't know if she ever had it.
Right.
She was
Exactly. We don't know.
asymptomatic if she did. But
these are all hypotheticals.
Yes, this could have happened.
I don't want to fix this in post. It takes too long.
Yeah. Okay.
Just don't sue us. Oh, couch. Scotty Green's El Camino. It's so hot here. What should we expect the road atmosphere to be like at USC and UCLA? I envision something less loud than, say, Breslin or Mackey Arena.
Yeah, in part because I think you have a lot of MSU fans there. I think you will feel the MSU presence. Like it'll be like Northwestern. Is my guess. That's what I would think.
Scotty Green's El Camino. Graham, which is the most important organization? Red Cross, American Cancer, or teacups.org? Well, we don't lie where the money goes for teacups.org. I'm just saying.
Do you think the Red Cross is lying?
100% proceeds go into our pockets. We don't lie about it. Never will.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I think we donated maybe $10 of it somewhere. Oh. Peasy, I absolutely love our 10-man rotation and wouldn't change it. Swear I'm not coaching the team, Tom. However, do you feel with such parity in minutes and touches, this could contribute to our lower team 3-point percentage as opposed to 4 to 6 players dominating shots and usage rate?
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, there's a sense that people aren't playing enough to get no rhythm or whatever that is. I don't know that that's true. I mean, I don't know. It would be interesting to talk to. Maybe I should ask.
Well,
some
you're a
players
basketball player. You play at a high level. I mean, not Big Ten level, but what do you? I mean, obviously, all the pickup games you play.
There's no question.
It would be tough to get in a rhythm
coming in and out. But I don't. Yeah, it's a good. I don't know. Like, I don't think that's what's affecting Jaden Akins right now. Right? He took 15 shots at Rutgers and made 3 of them. Right? That he played plenty. And it's a fair question though, and probably one that should be asked if the numbers stay like this.
Peasy next. When was the last time you guys watched the Red Wings? They were toast until they fired Lalonde, but things are looking up again.
When's the last time you watched the Red Wings?
Buenos tardes. It is time for the Detroit Red Wings Gambling Update with Gramanito Couch and Jason Lee.
It's funny that this question was sent in because last night, watching Red Wings Edmonton, my friend Jordan, he's a big hockey guy, and he's a really good gambler when it comes to hockey, so I jumped on a little same-game parlay because I'm jonesing with no football. So I watched the game last night.
Yeah, I
not all of it.
Within the last week or two, I would say I watch parts of one Red Wings game in the background like once every couple weeks. The thing that sucks, and this is where not having it's now the FanDuel app, like on your, just on your TV channels. Again, it's one of those things you got to intentionally go to, and I do sometimes, and I like having a Red Wings game on while in the background while I'm working or whatever. But I used to watch more when it was just straight on Xfinity for me. What are the sports that are on? Red Wings are on. Okay, hit that. So now it's got to be much more intentional.
PZ Graham, tell me I'm crazy, but aren't there a lot of similarities between Liverpool's Premier League title chase and MSU's Big Ten title pursuit?
So the idea that they haven't been quite at the top, the difference is this: Liverpool, even though they have not won it in a few years, has been top 3 in the league for a while. But it did come a little out. They certainly were a top 3 favorite, and I'm very grateful for that because I have a decent season futures bets on Liverpool to win it. Probably, and that's probably the most similar thing. Michigan State's odds to win the Big Ten title and Liverpool's odds to win the Premier League title weren't that different a few months ago, and they're both in the driver's seat. And yeah.
Jebediah next. Why does fucking Comcast have us all by the balls as the only internet option? We're a little house on the fucking prairie over here because we're moving, and the people who bought our house activated their account and got ours canceled. You think I could just call and talk to an actual person and have them fix it? But no, I had to drive to a fucking store just for someone to tell me we're fucked until we move.
What am I?
Yes. Oh, Jebediah.
One of my favorite things about this show is it's a place for people to rant.
Dude, because I feel exactly every word of that pain.
Yeah.
I haven't had that happen, thankfully, but I just, in those cases.
Yeah, I don't think they will 10 years from now, but you're gonna have to wait. It's gonna be.
Damn, dude, these people. I mean, I can understand that though. If you're moving somewhere, like, all right, let me get the. That was the first on the people that are moving in's list. Get the internet. Get those people shit out of here. Like, that's fantastic. Richard Kane, Graham's neighborhood sounds like a residence hall. Is Graham the RA?
It is a cool neighborhood. I like it. A little bohemia. I wish we had a Groovy Donuts like in the neighborhood. If we had a Groovy Donuts in the neighborhood, place I could get some coffee and just walk over and get it. It would be perfect. But as I mentioned, Groovy Donuts,
cat that you stole.
Groovy Donuts is soon going to you're going to be able to get Groovy Donuts through delivery. I think going there is great, and their staff is friendly. To see all the donuts in front of you is pure bliss. And I always say you want to get like a dozen or half dozen in a box, and then get like 2 extra that you eat in the car ride on the way home. So that way, there's no evidence that you already had some, but you don't have to share those. And that's just my advice. Pro tip there with the Groovy Donuts. Go to groovydonuts.com. Order yours today for this weekend, for the Super Bowl, for whenever, just to make yourself feel good and bring joy into your life, because that's what Groovy Donuts do. If you go to groovydonuts.com, as I mentioned, but also Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing, and also in Williamston, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday through Sunday.
Richard Kane next. Somebody last show opined that America deserves better than Chiefs versus Eagles. In light of recent events, does it really?
That's a fair point.
Yeah. Richard Kane.
Trying to hang on to some listeners here.
Richard Kane. With Fox selling 30-second Super Bowl ad slots for $8 million and the game having typically at least 45 minutes of commercials, how long until one Super Bowl rakes in a cool $1 billion in ad sales for the lucky broadcaster?
So wait a sec. 30 second is $8 million for 30 seconds. That just, do you get enough out of that? I don't.
Yeah, I would think so. You get that many eyeballs.
Maybe we can ask Groovy Donuts to do that this year. Sink $8 million into 30 seconds and see if it's worth it.
Inquire about those.
Yeah.
How much?
How long until one Super Bowl?
How much for a minute? Just checking in.
$1 billion. I guess not that long if you start to do the math.
Fart Soup next. Graham, were you at the 2010 NCAA first round games out in Spokane? The Corey Lucius three-pointer to beat Maryland is my all-time in-person MSU basketball moment. I think I put that ahead of the 2009 Final Four game over UConn or the 2007 Neitzel game against number 1 Wisconsin.
I was not covering the team back then. But obviously I saw that game, and I can understand why that would be your top moment. And I would say in my years covering the team, like the most like hair-raising moment, and for whatever reason, it's not quite like the Zion Williamson, the shot over Zion Williamson by Kenny Goins to beat Duke. It's not quite that. It was a big deal because he was a huge guy, and I just broke my chair. That could have been it. Some of it's just the mindset I'm in terms of where I'm at with like quick takes and working on things. To me, the 2015 Elite Eight, when Michigan State beat Louisville in Syracuse, the end of that game and the intensity of it and where we were sitting, and just like you could, like, that was fun. That was one of those moments where you realize how great your job is, because you just, I could feel my heartbeat. I could see that was exhilarating.
Fart Soup, why is bread so good?
It just is, man. I don't know. Otherwise, it wouldn't be around. Bread's been around forever. So if it sucked, nobody would want it, right?
I hope that's the answer you were expecting, Fart Soup. I'll be, next one from Fart. I'll be back in town February 12th through the 22nd. Are you two down for a round at the Hot House? I'll buy.
I didn't know this place was still open.
Yeah.
I'm gonna rent a place. Yeah, I'm regular. I'm gonna become a regular. I didn't know.
Can I get my own? I mean, you guys can have your. You have to do it separate. We all just sit in the hot tub.
I do need to find out if it's still open. The building does not look. The building does not look that in great shape when I drive by.
Well, no kidding.
It's still open.
It's had hot tubs in it for over 20 plus years. It's absolutely open.
The hot tubs still have water in them. I mean, it's not. It's okay.
Where would the water? What are you talking about?
I don't know. Okay. Yeah.
People like to tub. David Cox. When you have a guest on, it's time to let Jason participate in asking questions. Don't you think he's earned his stripes? Let him cook. Yeah, Graham, why can't I ask any questions?
Hold up.
It's almost been 1,000 shows. You won't let me.
That's not
He's
how
nervous
this plays
about
out.
No, I got to say, it's no offense to the guests that we have on. I just don't have any questions for him. I think Graham will hit it. Like, he's always, I don't know. Most of them are sports writers, and they like to talk to each other, and
If Jason is always well, I mean, Jason's, that's not a thing.
It's like when Colton Pouncey was on. He texted me. He's like, just jump in if you have a question. Because I'm a Lions guy, and of course, I just don't. I don't. It's no offense to Colton Pouncey. I just don't. I'd rather talk about baseball cards or some music or like golf. I love talking golf. As far as sports, I think I've just seen it all a lot in 40 years of watching sports. So I don't know.
And every once in a while, you jump in, and obviously with Harry,
I like talking gambling. If I could ask the guests that come on about their gambling, what do they enjoy, what are their hobbies or something. I mean, like Omar was on the Pistons. I don't know. I don't watch the NBA much anymore. What hobbies do you do outside of watching hoops and stuff like that? So, but I just like that he thought like. I was shut down this whole time. But, 1,000 shows.
Yeah, I'm not going to let you do that.
Jason, back off the mic.
Grab a donut and shut your mouth.
David Cox, have you considered following Alex Berenson, Barry Weiss, Michael Schellenberger, and Matt Taibbi for some balance? Seems like it could help. Who the fuck are those people?
They're authors. Berenson's at the Times, I believe, right? Yeah, I don't follow any of them specific, but I will look them up and take your recommendation.
That means he's not going to do it. That's pretty much what he's saying. Instead of saying no on a show, let me go check that out.
Is he going back to the high voice?
Yeah. Mr. Benjen, can you say why MSU being about 33% from 3 in conference is good? Like Couch said recently, isn't being 51% from 2 better?
Yeah, I mean they've been really good in a number of areas, I don't think 33% is good, but it's middle of the road is what it is. It's not an issue. Now the thing is, Michigan State is not trying to just be a team that's not an issue, and with Jaden Akins and Trey Holloman, you're talking about people that at one point in their careers have shot over 40% for a season. And so what you want for them to be is you'd love Akins and Holloman to be those type of shooters down the stretch. They've shown they can do it over the course of a season. And so I think that's part of the concern is guys have not shot up to the level that they once have.
Mr. Benjen Graham, why are you such a tard about the equalizer? Maybe the only franchise where number 3 might be better than number 1. So, Mr. Benjen. Twitter question of the day.
I think for a long time I had it confused with the Queen Latifah show.
How dare you? Yeah, you didn't. 55 million people can't be wrong. That piece of shit show is nothing like the movies. You just don't. He doesn't like it. He doesn't want to like it because I love it.
It's not true.
And everything he brings up to me, I think is ass. So I get it. He's got to just. There's no reason for him not to like The Equalizer with Denzel.
Okay,
0.
I would. I
don't watch it. No,
I
don't
love
watch
Denzel.
it.
I will watch it.
No,
I will watch it.
I hope you don't.
I will.
I hope you don't watch it now. Mr. Benjen, why doesn't Jason go to MSU games? Because then I'd have to ask questions or whatever. Now, actually, I was talking to T about that the other night. Like, to be honest with you, when a state game's coming up, I go, sweet. Get the TV set up, snacks and shit. Like going to Breslin, I have to see like Rico Beard and shit, like, David Harns. What the fuck would I want to do that for? When I can see it just like, it's just on the TV unless you're watching Peacock.
Rico and David taking strays here from...
Not strays. They don't want to see me either. I can understand that. I'm just saying is that there's a lot going on at the Breslin Center. And I always view it as, I'm looking for, I love watching games on TV.
Yeah, and you could go if you wanted to, but I don't know what you gain out of it. Yeah, it's.
I mean, if people obviously, if it was getting paid to go to the games, I mean, you have to do that. HW next. If Meals on Wheels was discontinued, traffic would be a lot smoother. Makes a valid point.
Yeah, well,
it was in the running for question of the day, but
it'd be different sorts of traffic.
I mean, a lot of Meals on Wheels traffic in those back roads.
Yeah.
God bless it.
I've been saying that all the time. All the people in the way.
That it?
I don't know what you've been saying. I don't know where to go with
it. HW, I can't be the only one that thinks of how do you do fellow kids meme when Graham talks about doing edibles. There's no way he actually partakes.
Oh no, I'm not the Joe Ingles of weed. I'm not the Joe Ingles of weed like Jason.
Did your head just and tongue all explode at one time?
I can.
Yeah.
No, but
Graham does edible. I don't think Graham smokes. I don't think he's allowed to.
No,
if you see his TV setup, there's no way he's blowing smoke in that.
Even by my wife's standard, she calls me a drug dealer because we have edibles in the house because of
It's not a drug.
That's what I keep saying.
It's not.
Right. No,
It's legal.
No, I got a whole cabinet for them. Yeah, Pure Options. Yeah, it's no. It's look. This goes back even before Pure Options. I was not a huge edible person before then, but I would from time to time. And then since this show began, I mean, you're talking.
So your wife says you're a drug dealer. So when do you take them? You probably have to lie to her.
No, she's cool. She knows. She's good. She's good.
Honey, what is that? And then she looks, and you just hammer her.
She goes to
20
bed,
mg.
She goes to bed at 8. And I'm like, let's go.
Graham's got it figured out. Hans Jurgen, would you rather watch Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA music video over and over or videos of animals eating people? That's a great question.
From Detroit down to
What about Chad Ladd singing it?
And New York
better than Lee Greenwood.
Well, there's pride in
Which one are you picking?
I mean, I'm really
animals eating people.
I don't know if I could do that. That would mess up my stomach.
But what if you knew the people were like ass?
Still, I would get grossed out. I would struggle with that.
Well, I hope so.
I would
hope you keep your pants on. Like, what does that mean?
But it is the worst song of all time. I would go with Lee Greenwood, but it's closer. I mean, if you know me, this is a big no. I would go with Lee Greenwood.
Lee Greenwood selling new Bibles on TV. That's fascinating. Hans Jurgen, if you have to drive across the country, would you rather have Izzo as your passenger or a resurrected Heathcote?
Oh, Heathcote by far. Izzo is fine, but Heathcote had an unbelievable wit to him. Like he was
Don Rickles,
Yeah, he was entertaining as hell. I would much rather go with Heathcote.
I don't know, but Izzo can go on for 4 hours.
Just pass the time.
With you in a room. I mean, damn, dude. We cover a lot of topics. Hans, have you ever thought about telling your editor to go fuck himself and go to Substack?
I have not. That is not
Damn,
It does not sound like a good career.
Today is my last day. I'm going to Substack.
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, no. They treat me so well at the LSA. I have such good local bosses, and I mean, it's,
no shit. They employ you.
Yeah, but
absolutely.
I have one of the great jobs, and I do not take it for granted. And they treat me with incredible freedom. They let me do this show, like just to give you,
should
pull back the curtain a little bit. And there is value in it, 100% for us. But they let me do this show, even early on when I was doing it 5 days a week, 2 hours a day, and
boy, if you're doing the couch in the roof drinking game,
yeah,
couch mentioned the 5 days a week, you're hammered.
Sorry, I apologize.
Goddamn, it's not even afternoon. Hans, if our recent problems have been caused by DEI, can we blame our past problems on white people?
Pretty much all of them. There's no question. There is a ton of irony in everything that's happening right now.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
Whitey. Jake Hawkins, what do you think about this name for the student section at MSU women's basketball home games at Breslin? Robin's Nest.
I don't hate it.
That hasn't happened yet?
I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. Maybe I'll bring it up, Jake. Good idea. Maybe I wonder what
Jake could dress up like a bird egg.
What do they call the? Hold on.
He could be the master.
Off. Tonight, I see the bright and hollow sky over the city's ripped back sky.
It does not have a specific name. Okay, maybe that's worth doing.
What did you Google? How did you know that?
MSU women's basketball student section name. And
search.
Yeah. The Breslin Boom. Is this what this is? Maybe I'm
like an AI was like, "Why'd you ask me this?" That's the point.
Yeah.
Jake Hawkins. So yesterday on 97.1, Mike Valeni pointed out that MSU ranks in the bottom third for both 3-point shots attempted and 3-point shot made. That won't win them a title. Rico thinks this team will be an exception and can possibly win it all. And all things considered, what say you?
Does stuns me that Rico thinks this team can be an exception.
No way. Was it a hot take show they were doing?
Yeah, I don't. They don't. Yeah, I mean their percentage is better. I mean, I don't know. I don't know yet. That's the answer to it. I don't think we do know yet. The one thing their schedule, they have done what it takes to beat the teams in front of them, and they've done a great job of that. And they've shot well enough. And they're going to face some more difficult situations. I think we'll have a much better understanding of this by the end of February when they're in some difficult situations, if their three-point acumen and the volume and everything and how they're playing is really enough. Because if they can beat Illinois on the road, or at least play with them to the wire, if they beat Purdue at home, if they sweep Michigan, or they, as long as they're, I mean, these are all teams that are going to be in contention to make deep tournament runs. And so then, now, when you get to the end of it, right? So much of it is luck. There's so much luck involved. And, I think back to the year that they won it. right? They if it wasn't for Kenyon Martin at Cincinnati, that was the best team in the country, right? It helped that they were playing Iowa State at the Palace of Auburn Hills. Anywhere else, they probably lose that game. And then they get Wisconsin and Florida, two teams they knew they were going to beat. There are other years they didn't get that luck. In the Final Four in 1999, they played Duke. And that 1999 team, Izzo will tell you, was as good as the 2000 team. You know, there have been teams that had bad luck with an injury or who they ran into. And, you know, the great North Carolina team in 2009. And so I mean, it just, there's a lot of luck that's involved, even if you have the goods to do it. But I think at the end of February, we'll have a sense of whether they have the goods on a given day to beat just about anybody. And again, you know, they're the Auburns of the world and teams that may be better than them, and this may be a problem, and it may not matter. So, but we'll get a better sense of it over the next 4 weeks.
Jake Hawkins' thoughts on the two new coordinators for the Detroit Lions? I mean, how can you not love him? I mean, Shepard was what? The linebackers coach. So I think he's the guy that's got the Dan Campbell mentality down. Will be a guy that I think will just be able to plug and play with a guy like Aaron Glenn. Morton, the offensive coordinator, I'm not going to lie, I didn't know much about him before people started bringing up his name. So I hope he comes in and calls some fun plays that don't involve Penei Sewell fucking week 7 throwing passes, maybe. So next one from the Hawk. What does the outlook look like for the MSU hockey team with Red Savage out for the season with an injury?
I mean, it's a blow. There's no question. I mean, they do have great depth, and that's been a strength of this program. They have some good players that don't get a lot of minutes, and you've seen it. I think they have better depth than a year ago. And so, yeah, it doesn't help them, no question, but I don't think it limits their potential or ceiling. I think the biggest threat to Michigan State hockey still remains the fact that single elimination in the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament because some jackass came up with that idea.
Next one from the Hawk. Which insurance commercial are you most annoyed by? The Geico halftime speech where the end result was much worse, or the State Farm one with the Aiden Hutchinson bundling practice and ballet to Bundele Save?
Does either one of those bother you?
It doesn't bother me. The one that does is the Eric Cole guy from the car insurance where he interviews Jared Goff, and Jared Goff's like, I'm going to interview you.
From Cure or whatever.
Oh, dude, that guy's such a weirdo. Look at me, weirdo. And then one with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, no one cares about your fucking car insurance, dude.
It's not even good car insurance, I don't think.
Probably not. I mean, I'd rather go with the General and Shaq. But I'm saying, you know, it just annoys me. Like, you know, Jared Goff, you make how much money a year? When is enough money enough to, like, I would watch that and I go, I don't want to be in this shit. It's going to make me look like a douche.
Well, don't they have people who can write better commercials than this?
Exactly.
Like,
no, because you can tell the guy, the Eric Cole guy who's sitting in the chair, he wants to be known around town because he's with Jared. Like, there's no other reason for him to be in the fucking commercial. I just hate guys like that. But Jared Goff, like, these guys are making a ton of money. Like, don't you see it? I'm like, wow, I'm in this commercial. Hey, I call my agent and go, this is ass. Like, take me out of this. I don't want my face on this commercial. Upper Deck Jerk Guy. If you had $1 billion but still had to work a 9-to-5 job, what would you do?
Ooh.
I would give myself an office at one of my businesses, and I would give myself multiple days off.
Yeah.
With my Pornhub Platinum membership and go golf somewhere.
If I really had to work, I would do. It's supposed to be in customer service where it moved quickly. You know?
I would stay at the LSJ.
I might for a little bit.
I would tell him to keep my salary, of course. Upper Deck Jerk Guy. Are you what a German would call a Heimenscheiger? What is this word? What's this letter?
Hold on.
EI. What's that after the EI? Is that a B?
Yeah, it's a B.
How is that a B? It looks like a Pac-Man.
It's a...
you typed that?
I just copied... No,
You copied and pasted?
It's how Germans refer to a person who does not like to travel far or has never lived or worked away from home, I think. So,
could you read that again without
it's how
multiple mules in your mouth? And what was that?
It's how Germans refer to a person who does not like to travel far or has never lived or worked far from home.
A Heimenscheiber. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That letter's weird. Jerk Guy, which of the two of you would win in a foot race?
Depends how far.
Dude, yeah.
Well, actually,
like past like a 40-yard dash.
40-yard dash, I don't know. I have no idea.
I'd smoke you, I think.
I don't think so.
I think I'd smoke you. I'm just going to say that you're going to win because I know this is what this leads to.
A mile would be me.
We're going to make 1,000 shows and start doing hacky bits and shit.
We aren't doing.
Oh my God!
yet.
Stay tuned for the foot race between Jason and the Rube or fucking Ruben Couch. Okay, are we done with these now? Is that the last one? All right.
Oh yeah, I guess there was one more, but yeah.
Where? Are you now or have you ever been a member of the Blue Wall?
I am not a card-carrying member of the Blue Wall. I'm proud to say. I feel like I missed a couple, and I apologize if we did. Please submit them, because there was one good one about the Rube that I somewhere it went, but about the Rube's nickname. Anyway, you can resubmit it in the form of a hot take on Monday or Wednesday. I'm not exactly sure on next week's schedule. We will let you know. It'll be Monday or Wednesday, and it'll be our 1,000th show. And those of you who've been with us for 2 shows, we appreciate you. And those who've been with us at the beginning, we appreciate you too. And we should get you some Pure Options just for all you've done. We appreciate Pure Options. Go to pureoptions.com. We appreciate Groovy Donuts, groovydonuts.com, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday through Sunday. And also Firekeepers, iCasino, and Sportsbook app. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch and the Roof.